Raider Nation, good morning. It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, with some good and some bad news around Klint Kubiak that impacts the Las Vegas Raiders. To make sure you're staying up to date on all things going on around this insane Raiders head coaching search, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications. I will not be live today unless I need to go live. And then I also will be live on Saturday. It's going to be a wild day in the NFL. Obviously, there cannot be a hiring. It's got to happen after the Super Bowl. But there's going to be a lot of news. There's going to be a lot of information. So I'm giving up my Saturday to hang out with Raider Nation. So please make sure you're subscribed and come on, hang out with your boy. All right, so let's get into the good and some of the bad news around Kubiak. And the reason why it's good, the Raiders obviously have that second interview scheduled with Kubiak, and it's in person. And it's going to be in Seattle. There was some wonder, there was some speculation. Could it be over Zoom? Could it be over FaceTime? Because Kubiak's getting ready for Super Bowl 60 up against the New England Patriots. And honestly, I wouldn't blame the guy because he's trying to focus on winning a Super Bowl, right? Which his dad was able to do, Gary Kubiak, many years ago, I guess, with the Denver Broncos. But overall, I'm sitting here and I'm saying that's good news because, A, he's the number one guy that the Raiders want. Davis Webb is waiting in the background in case Kubiak either stays in Seattle, maybe he takes another job like the Cardinals, or he's going to end up going with the Las Vegas Raiders. But according to a report, both the Raiders and the Cardinals have the opportunity to meet with Kubiak before the Super Bowl. That's the bad news. The good news, we get to interview him in person in Seattle. The bad news, he also is going to be interviewing in person with the Arizona Cardinals. And I do think that the timing of this makes a lot of sense for the Raiders, makes a lot of sense for the Cardinals, and it makes a lot of sense for Klint Kubiak because there's two head coach job openings left. Kubiak knows that he's the top guy out there, and if you pin both teams up against each other, that could result in some more money and some more guarantees, and honestly, maybe more years on your contract that you're guaranteed to be able to keep that job. Now, I saw this report, and it's from one of the Arizona Cardinals beat reporters. His name is Brack, so hopefully I pronounced that correct. And he said Klint Kubiak's going to meet with both the Cardinals and the Raiders in person Saturday in Seattle. Kubiak is the top target for both of those jobs. And then finalists for each opening have been notified of this last interview. So that means this is the last interview for the Raiders. This is the last interview for the Arizona Cardinals. If the Raiders do not get Klint Kubiak, I am fully anticipating them to go then all full court press on Davis Webb. If you don't get Davis Webb, well, then I think you might have to look at, a Chris Shula, maybe you look at a Nate Shieldhouse, maybe you look at a Mike LaFleur of some sorts. Though, if I'm being honest with you, I do think that Mike LaFleur is going to be the front runner for that Arizona Cardinals job just based simply on some of the reports that have been happening all week. It sounds like the Raiders have always wanted Klint Kubiak all along, but they did not know how interested Kubiak was in this Raiders job based on a lot of the reports. Again, to me, for Adam Schefter to miss as bad as what he did around this Raiders head coaching situation tells me maybe two things. Maybe A, maybe the Raiders tried to leak out a little bit that, hey, man, we are really interested in Davis Webb and that we're flying an owner in. It's going to be Davis Webb because maybe they didn't get an official answer from Kubiak when that interview was going to be. And I wonder if because there was a lot of rumblings happening around Davis Webb, that maybe Kubiak was like, all right, we got to be able to get this, scheduled. It does also sound like that there was always a plan in the background to get this interview scheduled with both Kubiak and with the Raiders. But to me, I do think timing is everything in the NFL. I do think certain dominoes need to end up falling. But what I do know is this. Kubiak is the number one target for the Raiders. The number two target is Davis Webb. So the reason why I actually think that this is smart by Kubiak, and I hate to admit it because, again, right, I'm wearing my Raider cap, I'm putting my Raiders mind on. I do think that it's smart by Kubiak to pin both Arizona and the Raiders up against each other. Why? He knows he's the favorite. He's been the favorite all along. He's been my number one candidate before the Raiders even fired Pete Carroll. If you don't believe me, go back and check out the video where Kubiak was number one. Also, when you put those two teams against each other, I think for both organizations that are sitting here in a spot where they're both the worst teams in their division, there's a lot of question marks around both organizations. So I don't blame Kubiak for being like, you know what, I'm going to walk into whether it's Arizona, whether it's the Raiders, and I want to make sure that I have job security. That helps you have job security. Now, again, I do believe that the Raiders are going to end up getting Kubiak at this point. And if Kubiak says no to the Raiders, I think he doesn't go to Arizona. I think Kubiak is Seattle or Raiders at this point, and I do believe that Mike LaFleur, the Rams offensive coordinator, is going to be the next head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. So here's the one question that I want to ask, because, again, job can't be accepted until after the Super Bowl, which is February 9th. It's a Monday. I'm going to be glued to my phone. I'm going to be live on that Monday. I can already guarantee it. So let's play a game here, because this is what I like to do. I know we're going to get Raider fans here. We got the number one Raider show on the planet. But I also know I'm going to get a lot of Arizona Cardinals fans here as well. They're going to come across this video. So my question to you is this. Who's the better job? Don't answer this just because you're a Raider fan. Don't answer this just because maybe you're a Cardinals fan. I want you to be non-biased. And look at me right now and tell me, what's the better job? Raiders or Cardinals? My answer coming up here after this YouTube ad break. I'm looking at all y'all, Raider fans, NFL fans, Cardinals fans. The Las Vegas Raiders job is without a doubt better than the Arizona Cardinals job, and it's not even close to me. And coming up here, why? I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell y'all why. I got so many different reasons listed out. And if you're a Cardinals fan and what I'm about to say, if it offends you, then yell at me down in the comments section, because you're only lying to yourself if you think that Cardinals job's better than the Raiders job. If you think 4 inches is a lot, you're lying to yourself. No, 4 inches, from what I've learned here in Dallas, Alaska, 4 inches, man, can really F up an entire city. Before I get into why the Raiders job is clearly better than the Arizona Cardinals job for Klint Kubiak, I'm going to tell you about today's sponsor, Prize Picks. The big game, y'all, it's almost here, and quite frankly, kind of want it to hurry up a little bit. Not because I want to watch the game. Well, I do want to watch Klint, but it's because I want the Raiders to be able to hire their next head coach. And there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in your lineup when you play your first $5. On Prize Picks, how you play is up to you. I have not submitted the lineup yet, and the reason why I haven't submitted the lineup yet, we're still way too far away from me doing that, because the big game, again, is on Sunday, February 8th. But if you want to submit a lineup and you want to go flex play, where you don't have to get all your picks right, you could still win. Or if you want to go with a power play, that means you got to get every single one of those picks right. I'm just going to guess. I'm not saying that they're going to do it, but I do anticipate Prize Picks puts out some great deal on a player. Maybe it's 0.5 passing yards. They seem to do that from time to time around the quarterbacks in these types of big games, and that's what I'm going to be waiting for. If you want to get a lineup in now, believe me, I'm not going to judge you, but this is coming from me, somebody who loves Prize Picks, somebody who's telling you to use Prize Picks. I'm not going to blame you if you don't want to get a lineup in around the big game, but here's the cool part. Dude, there's hoops action every single night, I feel like. The other night I was watching Luka. He dropped 46 for the Lakers. And if you're planning on sitting down watching a game, get a lineup in. $5. I've done $5 lineups to win $10. It's 3 hours of entertainment with the opportunity to put some money in your pocket. In today's day and age, man, that just simply doesn't exist. So get in on the action. There's a reason why they're America's #1 fantasy sports app out there. They're available in all 50 states. So download the Prize Picks app today. Make sure that you use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. So coming up here, let's get into why the Raiders' job is better than the Cardinals' job. And when I'm sitting there on Saturday, I almost wonder if Klint is going to tell Arizona, I'm just not interested in that job. And obviously, if the Cardinals end up hiring Mike LaFleur, which they can do, they can hire anybody that's not on Seattle and not on New England's coaching staff. If they end up hiring someone, that obviously tells me everything I needed to know. That I believe that it is Seattle or the Raiders for Kubiak, and here's exactly why. Let's go to the first reason. I believe last year, the biggest reason why the Raiders missed out on Ben Johnson, we didn't have an answer at quarterback. And sure, if you look at this roster right now, we still don't have a quarterback on our roster. Geno Smith's going to be gone. Aiden O'Connell's literally the only dude on this team. The Dolphins claimed Cam Miller before the season ended, and Kenny Pickett's going to be a free agent. But I will take Fernando Mendoza over Kyler Murray, even if you decide to keep him. And with all the reports that are going on right now, it sounds like Arizona will be moving on from Kyler Murray during this season. So if we're just comparing Fernando Mendoza and Kyler Murray, I'll take Mendoza. Murray might be the better quarterback right now, but if I'm going to build a team and if I'm a head coach, I want somebody that I believe is a leader of men. You can't tell me, any Arizona Cardinal fan out there, that you think Kyler Murray is a leader of men. When you got to put something in your contract that you can't play flipping Call of Duty after paying a guy $55+ million. Also, I live down here in this area. I've heard of nothing good about Kyler Murray being a leader. He cares about him and himself only, based on a lot of the things players say, based on a lot of the reports that have come out since the day that he's been a high school quarterback. Let's go to again. So then, not only do you know you can get Mendoza number 1 overall, the quarterback scarcity in free agency it's out there. Are you going to go get Malik Willis? I'll tell you this, if I'm Malik Willis, the only way the hell I'm playing with the Arizona Cardinals is if you pay me $25-30 million a year. I don't think that that's smart for Arizona to do, because you only got $30 million in salary cap space. And then you're looking at the draft. I don't know if there's another quarterback out there that you could draft in the first round, in the second round. So by them trading away Kyler Murray, that screams full-on rebuild with no answer at quarterback. And to me, teams go where the quarterback is. And I just look at what type of quarterback Fernando Mendoza is, and I look at the type of quarterback that Jacoby Brissett, Kyler Murray is, and you can't tell me that Mendoza's not a better fit for what Kubiak brings to the table. Let's go to the next reason why the Raiders' job is better than Arizona. Free agency. Money. Would you rather have $80 or would you rather have $30? How about this? Would you rather have $51 million more or $51 million less? I think all of us are sitting here going, yeah, I think I'd probably take the extra 51 mil. And if I'm Kubiak, I would also do that. Now, here's the cool part. The Raiders are about to get some extra money. I don't follow the Arizona Cardinals the way that I do the silver and black, but right now the Raiders are projected at somewhere around $80 million in cap space. $51 million more on over the cap, $53 million more projected on Spotrac. The other cool part, the Raiders are projected to have more money in 2027. The Raiders are projected to have more money in 2028. So I'm telling you, Clint, the next 3 years, if you want to be able to spend some money, there's not many teams that have more money than the Las Vegas Raiders. In fact, the Silver and Black are the only team in the NFL the next 2 seasons projected top 3 money in salary cap overall. And we're going to get more money. So if you want money to spend, you're going to be able to spend a lot more in the Raiders than you are in Arizona, especially if you're looking for a quarterback, because then I don't think you got nearly anything. Let's now talk about the draft, because the draft is important. The Raiders have 10 picks and the number 1 overall pick. Arizona has 7 picks, 1 pick in each round. If they trade away Kyler Murray, you're not going to get a first-round pick for him. I would say if they trade away Kyler, you're going to be lucky to get a second. And I know the Raiders traded away last year a 3rd-round pick for Geno. I do think that Kyler Murray and Geno are kind of in that exact same situation. And if you know that there's going to be a changing a head coach, you know there's going to be some movement, I would anticipate a second, at best, probably a 3rd-round pick for Kyler Murray. So then let's say you got 8 picks at best. If you're the Raiders, you're walking in with 10. And you got, I believe it's what? You got 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the third, 3 picks in the fourth. So that's 6 picks in the top 134 picks for the Las Vegas Raiders. Arizona can't say the same. Let's now go to the roster, because I see a lot of Cardinals fans going, well, the roster for Arizona is better than the Raiders. Maybe that's the truth. But personally, Kubiak's an offensive-minded head coach. And when you look at this Raiders offense, it is way more advanced and way more ready to compete than anything Arizona has to provide. First off, quarterback. We have the quarterback if you want him, Clint. Number 1 overall, it's Fernando Mendoza, Heisman Trophy winner, 16-0, undefeated, national champion, and he's a high-level processor, which is exactly the type of coach Klint Kubiak is. Let's go to the running back position. Ashton Genty, you can hit me with James Conner. I actually love James Conner. He's a phenomenal back. I've followed him a long time. Great story coming out of Pitt. I'm a Pennsylvania guy myself. Shout out to the 570. But unfortunately for him, he gets injured every single year. So if you're going to look at me and tell me James Conner and Trey Benson is a better situation than Ashton Genty, okay, you're probably also going to tell me the Cardinals' job's better than two, right? Let's go to the wide receiver. This is advantage the Arizona Cardinals. They have Marvin Harrison Jr. Michael Wilson was a fantasy darling for me this past year, but I also don't want people to sleep on Trey Tucker, and I don't want people to sleep on Jack Besh either, because I think Jack Besh is very, very similar to Becker, who Mendoza worked with a lot, and I think you're going to see a lot of those back shoulder throws. But here's the cool part. We have more money to spend. We're going to be able to go out and add a wide receiver. And if you bring in Klint Kubiak, I think we're also going to be able to go out and get a Rashid Shaheed. Rashid Shaheed, Jack Besh, Trey Tucker. It's three good wide receivers. You might even be able to go out and get Alec Pierce. You can't because you don't have the money to do it. Let's go to the tight end position. This is where the debate, I think a lot of people are going to go, because Cardinals fans are going to go, Trey McBride's better than Brock Bowers. Raider fans are going to go, Brock Bowers is better than Trey McBride. I'll say based on the style of offense that Kubiak runs, I believe Brock Bowers is a better run blocker than Trey McBride. Trey McBride might be a better receiver, but I just respectfully just don't believe it. When I sit down and I look at the highest of the highs, I do think Brock Bowers is 1A, and I do think that Trey McBride is 1B. But let's just call it a wash. Let's look at the next tight end into this group. We got Michael Mayer. You got Tip Riemann. Tip Riemann. With all due respect, the tight end room for the Raiders is the better room. So that means we have the advantage at quarterback. We have the advantage at running back. You guys do have the receiver advantage, but I'm not saying it's by a lot, and we have more money to spend. So I think our receivers by the end of this offseason will be better than the Arizona Cardinals. Then you look at tight end. That's advantage Raiders, whether you like to admit it or not. Because, again, Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers is definitely better than just one tight end and Trey McBride. You can't tell me otherwise. And if you want to argue Bowers and McBride, we can do it all day long. But to me, I still believe that Brock Bowers is the best tight end in the National Football League. Let's now talk about the offensive line. The offensive line advantage, I think you got to give it to Arizona, but I also don't think it's nearly as crazy as what people think. The Raiders this past season were coached by Brennan Carroll. If you haven't seen the stories around Brennan Carroll, there were players on the Raiders that they would go up to Brennan and ask for help, and Brennan would basically be like, sorry, no power tools, right? Like he was just totally off on another tangent. They would actually have to go to GM John Spytek and ask for help. Also, the Raiders' offensive line in 2024 was a top 16 unit by almost every metric. They were 16 in pass blocking and 7 in run blocking with Joe Philbin, essentially with the exact same offensive line. Brennan Carroll was just an absolute disaster. But I do still think that Arizona has that advantage. Here's the cool part, though. We got Colt Miller. We got JPJ. That's 2 solid pieces. Then we have 3 third-round picks in Caleb Rogers, Charles Grant, and also DJ Glaze. I do know that Glaze took a step back this past year. We haven't seen a lot out of Rodgers. We haven't seen out a lot of Grant. But after what I saw this past season with Brennan Carroll, I don't know if it's so much those guys' fault or if it was just our coaching staff was just an absolute disgrace for the word coaching staff. Then I sit back and go, oh, wait, yeah, we got that money thing again. If we want to go out and we want to be able to add some extra offensive linemen, and if you're the Raiders, I do think that at the absolute minimum, you got to add an O-line. Maybe it's a Tyler Lindenbaum from the Baltimore Ravens. Maybe it's a David Edwards from the Buffalo Bills. Maybe it's a Braden Smith, right tackle from the Indianapolis Colts. You have the money to be able to do it. So to me, I look at the offensive situation for the Raiders, and I believe it is a better offensive situation than the Arizona Cardinals. And again, I don't really know if it's all that close because we got a quarterback, and I don't really think that Arizona does. Let's now talk about the defense. The Raiders are missing tons of pieces on defense. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Arizona, I do think, has better pieces on that defense, but at the same time, the Raiders were better in yards allowed per game, passing yards per game, rushing yards per game, and points allowed per game last season than Arizona. You can look at the paper. You can look at this player should be better than that guy. I do it all the time. I'm a freaking Raiders fan, right? I got hope every single offseason. But if I'm Klint Kubiak, I look at that offense and I go, this Raiders offense fits me way better than what Arizona's does. And then I look at that defense last season. If I'm just looking at it from a numbers standpoint, the Raiders had a better defense than the Arizona Cardinals. And oh yeah, you got that money and draft pick thing to be able to help build that defense, and whoever you decide to bring in on the defensive side of the football, that's going to be more of their job. It's still going to fall on the shoulders of the head coach. No doubt about it. Without a doubt, it's going to fall on the shoulders of the head coach. But if I'm Kubiak, I'm going, offense is me. Who can I bring in to run that defense? It's not going to be Patrick Graham. He just got a job with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But if I'm looking at offense, defense, I think that the Raiders' job is better. And then let's go to the last one. Both divisions are tough. NFC West is tough. AFC West is tough. No doubt about it. But right now, I think that the NFC West is a tougher division to get a team on top of that mountain than the AFC West. Both are tough. Let's not kid ourselves here. But you got the Seattle Seahawks, the Rams. I think those are the two best teams in the NFL. Do you disagree with me? And then you look at the San Francisco 49ers. I believe the 49ers fell off a cliff because of all the injuries they've had. Maybe they should have listened to Chase Sr. and all those substation reports that he was putting out. But the AFC West is tough. Again, the Broncos were the number one seed. The Chargers are a hell of a football team. And then you can never count out the Kansas City Chiefs. So, if we're, splitting hairs here about divisions, both divisions are tough. But I would say right now, the NFC West is slightly better. Just like Brock Bowers is slightly better than Trey McBride. All right, y'all, I'm getting ready to hop on out of here. Again, I wanted to be able to give you guys some good news, the bad news. Good news, Raiders are meeting with Klint Kubiak in person in Seattle. And the Raiders have the better job, and he's the front runner for the Raiders job. Bad news is he's also meeting with Arizona. Arizona's going to probably do a full court press on him as well. They both want this guy, which means the price tag's probably going to go up a little bit. If I had to anticipate what type of deal Kubiak's going to get, if I'm the Raiders, based on a lot of the other deals that have gone on in the NFL, I think you're looking at a 5-year, $75 million deal, right around that $15 million mark for the 5-year. Or maybe the Raiders decide to go a 4-year deal, $70 million, where it's more per year, but you tie the 4-year with John Spytek. Spytek's got 4 years left on his contract. So that's just going to be something that I'm going to be looking at. No matter what, though, Mark Davis ain't afraid to spend money on things that he wants. Clearly, he's paying $50 million in fired coaches at the bare minimum going into this season. But he's got the money to spend. Allegiant Stadium needs it. Raider Nation needs it. So if you got the opportunity to close the deal, and I know you can't sign the dotted line until after the Super Bowl, February 9th, it's a Monday. But I do fully anticipate that Tom Brady, John Spytek, all the owners that are going to be there, I want to see a verbal dap-up confirmation that Klint Kubiak is going to be the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Raiders, this will be the sixth head coach that Klint Kubiak, or sixth head coach, counting Klint Kubiak, since 2021. When they hire him, God, and if, I guess I should say if, I don't want to jinx it. Where's the wood? Hang on. Knock on wood. When the Raiders hire Klint Kubiak, you bet your ass I'm going to be live here on the Raiders Report. We're going to be getting rowdy. We're going to be getting after it. And I'm also going to be live on Saturday talking to you all things about this coaching search. If you bleed silver and black, I'll see you guys this Saturday. And I know for a fact I will see you Monday, February 9th, when the Raiders hire Klint Kubiak. If you're looking for even more videos around the silver and black, you can click this little button right here. It's called subscribe. And that way you're staying up to date. Free videos every single day. I've dropped over 5,200 videos on this channel, and we're getting close to 8 million views this month. There's a reason why we're the number one channel on the planet. We got the best community, and I hope that I can prove to you that we are the best community. If you don't like this show, you can unsubscribe after a week. There's absolutely nothing to lose. If you enjoyed the content that I made today, check out one of these videos right here.